So, the plague. The story about how raising an orphan child into a religion that encourages human sacrifice is a really bad idea. So, Adiris' family dumped her off at the Temple of Purgation when she was like 5 years old. The family had 7 kids, but no one really knows why they decided to chuck the 5-year-old out, but obviously the kid was pretty bummed. Haban from the temple ends up raising her and teaching her about the gods and how they really appreciate it when they shank a person for them on occasion. Adiris is really into this whole pain is love thing because it really hurt to get punted out of her family. So she starts thinking that the gods have some good shit in store for her down the road. Even though her family ditched her, Haban becomes like her adoptive father, and it does help her feel better. So she starts helping out the temple, cleaning stuff, mopping up blood, you know, standard volunteer shit. She even gets to provide an assist in the chanting during a ritual shanking. Adiris feels bad for the guy that they've got strapped down. Dude is begging for someone to help, and Adiris knows this shit's gonna hurt like the dickens, but suffering is love. So she gives him a little kiss on the forehead and only vomits a little in her mouth when the priest spears the guy, and she can see chunks of his vertebrae poking out of the hole. But hey, the gods are happy, so Adiris joins the party. The downside is that Haban is really bummed and is over in the corner crying. So later on, she's spending some quality time with her adoptive dad over some board games, and he starts blaspheming all over their good time. Adiris is like, "Dad, I love you, but I also kind of love those cool gods that really enjoy a good sacrifice." And Haban's like, "Yeah, forget those assholes, let's just leave." She has some time to think on that and even lies during a ceremony where they ask them if they've seen any blasphemous bullshit go down. Boy, that makes her feel terrible, but Haban meets up with her again and says, "Hey, do some praying. If you hear something, cool. If you don't, then the gods are just some made-up excuse to kill some people, and we can go ahead and peace out of here." So she goes and does some praying, and at first she doesn't hear shit. Then she hears some faint whispering, and it's the entity saying, "Hey, I don't get great reception out here in ancient Babylon, but I've got your back. Go shank a bitch for me." Of course, they didn't have prayer caller ID back then, so she just thinks it's one of her gods and feels really bad for doubting them, and goes ahead and kicks her own ass for a while. She finally steals a maiden guard outfit and a lit censer and heads down to see dear old adopted dad. She gives him a kiss on the forehead, and Haban thinks he's about to go take a nice vacation away from the murder temple. But then Adiris starts gouging his eyes out and beating the shit out of him with her censer. The dude even catches fire. He dies, obviously. And Adiris is pretty sad that he's dead, because he was a really nice guy for a blasphemer, and cries a little bit, but ultimately she was pretty okay with it. So fast forward a bit, and she's helping out with the high-ranking priests and helped out with purification rituals. When the plague hit, it took out the priests, and since Adiris was such a badass, she took over the whole operation. She even found a statue of a lady covered with jewels and was like, "Another sign!" and put that shit on. She showed up to her first ceremony, and every dude in Babylon felt their testicles shrivel up inside their body because Adiris was built like a brick wall and was way younger, prettier, and well endowed with glittery jewels than they were expecting. The ceremony kicked off, and a woman at the back straight up fainted. Adiris went to go check on her and saw that the lady's feet were blackened. So Adiris cut off her own toe and sacrificed it to the gods in exchange for protection for the lady. The people were like, "Holy fuck, this is the priestess for us," and started calling her the High Priestess of Babylon, and a few people even joined her posse. Now, Adiris eventually caught the plague, but she was absolutely determined to keep on doing what she was doing because she still believed the gods had her back. So she wore a veil and carried a censer to hide the smell of sick on her and kept bringing people food and water. Eventually, she couldn't deny that she was getting worse and banished herself from the city. A couple of people refused to leave, and they stayed with her until she was too sick and her foot was too swollen to walk. They camped out in a cave, and Adiris realized that her entire posse was sick, and there was no way any of them were gonna make it. Long story short, she made one last-ditch prayer to save her people from the plague, and the entity scooped her up with her followers and sent her into the fog to vomit all over the non-believers. And Adiris finally got to spend some quality time with her god. So yeah, the plague, plain and simple. Hey everyone, ZenBatman here. Survivors are cleansing right next to a generator near you in record numbers. Make sure to hit the subscribe button, or those survivors will let you die on first hook and say it's because Plague was powered up. If you'd like to help a Plague main whose pleasure centers in the brain light up like a Christmas tree whenever Adiris inhales, stop by the description box and feel free to drop $1. Thank you.